Hello, I'm the Deaf Geek. This is my podcast wrapping up. The Wheel of Time, Season 3.
The wheel weaves as the wheel wills, and this thread holds spoilers.
Before I begin with my wrap-up, I wanted to give you all fair warning. First, I'll be talking about the events of Season 3. And then I'll speculate on what I think will happen in Season 4 and beyond. This is my warning that my speculation will be heavily based on the novels. I will be openly utilizing my book knowledge in this discussion. If you haven't read the novels yet, I recommend you don't watch this podcast. Go and read all 14 novels, then return in a year or so to watch this. But yeah, there will be heavy usage of book spoilers in this podcast. This is your spoiler warning.
You've been ordered back to the tower.
By who?
By the Emerald Seat herself.
Swan can't stop us from doing our duty.
And what duty is that, sister?
To keep you out of the tower.
We'll open with the White Tower, which we just saw. Elyane has successfully deposed Siwan. Elyane is now the new Amerlin seat of the White Tower. The one major difference between the books and the show is that while the same coup happened and Siwan was stilled in the novels, she survived the coup. She went on to have her own storyline. However, on the show, Siwan was outright executed. That means Siwan's book storyline is now gone. Now let's discuss a few things about what might happen in Season 4. First, please note that Elyane sent out 8 Red Aegis sisters on a mission. Their goal is to capture and control Rand. Those 8 sisters will be important next season. Also, note that during the coup, 11 sitters remained in the White Tower. There are 21 total sitters. 11 sided with Elyane to depose and execute Siwan. That leaves 10 sitters who are outside chasing down the 8 Reds. So the White Tower is now split into 2 factions. This split will be a huge storyline next season. The 11 old-school sitters will remain in the White Tower with Elyane. They will pursue the goal of capturing, gentling, and maybe killing Rand. The remaining 10 sitters will form a rebel Aes Sedai faction. They will set up somewhere. That will happen in Season 4. That's my speculation, that we will see the formation of the rebel Aes Sedai. So we will have 2 separate Aes Sedai factions in Season 4. A whole new little tower by the 10 rebels, resulting in 2 competing White Tower factions.
So you left just before Lord Gabriel arrived?
Who?
My mother's consort. It's been by her side almost as long as I can remember.
I kept an eye on the court over the years. Trust me. I would know if this Gabriel was a consort.
Now let's shift over to Tanchico. Nynaeve and her detective agency headed there to track down the Black Aja. In Liandrin. Unfortunately, they also ran into Moghedien. The Black Aja were trying to locate and assemble the male Adam. It requires 2 women to operate. Unfortunately, the Black Aja were successful and obtained the male Adam. So the detective agency have to sulk back to the White Tower in disgrace. They will have to inform the Amerlin what happened. This is what I predict will happen in Season 4. Again, this is based on information from the novels as well. First, let's talk about Matt, who survived his encounter with the Ilfin. He got a fox medallion, his memories fixed, and a spear, the Ashandare. In the books, he met two species, the Ilfin and the Aelfin, aka the snakes and the foxes. He hasn't met the snakes yet, so I speculate he will enter the twisted doorframe that we saw in the 13th Depository during the first episode. I think Matt will enter that and get his prophecies. Then the rest of his storyline will be him trying to fulfill, or avoid, these prophecies. Elyane obviously has to go back home to Camelin. We just saw in the clip where Elyane learned Gabriel is not who he claims to be. He's a Forsaken, so Elyane has to save her mother and her queendom. That's Elaine's upcoming storyline. Now on to Nynaeve. Like she will actually accept serving Elida? Heck no. Nynaeve and Min will flee and end up in the rebel Aes Sedai camp. Now that her block is broken, Nynaeve will grow and develop in the One Power. Now it's time for Nynaeve to unleash her full potential. I also wanted to include Elyane, who was Siouan's second-in-command. Now that Siouan's dead, leaving a storyline behind, we need to figure that out. My guess is that Elyane will take over most of that storyline. Elyane will occupy the same role that Siouan did in the novels. That's my prediction.
Win the last battle.
Oh, don't confuse yourself, Rand. I've been the knife at your throat since this began. I have been ready to kill you if you chose the dark or if you lost your mind. I don't want you to get to the last battle unless I know you can win it for the light.
Exactly. Do you want what I want? You're the only one who does.
And now we shift our gears to the Aiel Waste. There are two key storylines going on here. Imnage, Rand's storyline, and Egwene's storyline. They will start separating. My first prediction is about Egwene, who I think will continue her dream walking lessons. She will eventually master dream walking in Tel Aranariod. After she has done so, she will return to the White Tower, where she will be shocked by the split. Egwene will head over to the rebel Aes Sedai to meet Nynaeve and her friends. And she has joined the rebels because she's not affiliated with any Arges, and she will then be raised as the new Amerlin seat for the rebel Aes Sedai. Her status as an accepted and not being part of any Arges will be the reason. The rebels will also think she's easy to manipulate due to her youth, and not realizing Egwene's experiences have toughened her up. So that's Egwene's story. Siouan's role as Egwene's advisor will be passed on to Elyane instead. Elyane will be in charge of training and teaching Egwene how to be the Amerlin. Rand's upcoming storyline is a bit less defined. First, I'm positive that they will start establishing the Black Tower. The Black Tower storyline concerns male channelers. Rand will come to the realization that if he's a male channeler, then it's unfair to gentle or execute other male channelers. Therefore, he will start amassing a group of male magic users. In order to establish this Black Tower, he'll have two major subordinates. The first will be Loghain, who we've already seen. He is gentled. Loghain will likely be cured by Nynaeve and regain his powers. It's a key event. The second commander will be Mazrim, who has been name-dropped. I suspect Mazrim will secretly be a Forsaken. Remember, there's 8 Forsaken, and we've already seen or heard about 7. There's one missing Forsaken who's hiding. In the novels, the original plan was for Mazrim to be a Forsaken in hiding. However, too many fans figured it out, so Robert Jordan dropped that plot. He changed his plans and the Forsaken went somewhere else. My guess is that the show will use that original plan. It saves time, is logical, and would make for good television. So Mazrim will be the secret Eighth Forsaken. Mazrim and Loghain will be in charge of the Black Tower. Rand will likely head to Tyr next in order to obtain the sword Kalandor, only to be intercepted by the Red Ajah. This will lead towards the infamous Dumai's Wells scene. This is a scene I've been eagerly anticipating ever since this show was announced. If done right, this will absolutely blow everything away. If they can pull it off, it'll be comparable to Game of Thrones' Red Wedding. It'll be absolutely mind-boggling. I really want to see that play out on the screen.
Hail Perrin Golden Eyes, Lord of the Two Rivers! Lord Perrin! Lord Perrin! Lord Perrin! Lord Perrin! Lord Perrin! Lord Perrin!
On to the Two Rivers, where the ending was completely different from the novels. When Perrin asked the White Cloaks for assistance in the novels, they rejected his request and refused to help Two Rivers. So the Two Rivers people managed to defeat the Trolloc army without any aid. After this victory, the White Cloaks showed up to arrest Perrin. The Two River townsfolk, however, refused to hand Perrin over. The TV show, however, did the opposite. The White Cloaks actually helped. And afterwards, Perrin surrendered to them. Do keep in mind that Perrin completely disappeared in books 5 and 6. Perrin was missing in action for nearly 2 entire novels. He didn't show up again until shortly before Dumai's Wells in Book 6. Then he finally returned. Obviously, you can't do that on the TV show. You can't have a main character just disappear for an entire season. I suspect that means the TV show will take a storyline from the slog. That is, the period from Books 7, 8, 9, and 10. And use that to fill in the gap and give Perrin something to do. Perrin has 2 major storylines during the slog. I'm not sure which one of those 2 the show will do. The first one is the White Cloaks' internal civil war. I don't know if they'll do that, since they've already killed off 2 key White Cloaks. So who will do which part in this conflict is unclear. Galad, another key character for that civil war, is completely different on the show. Given those changes, I'm not sure that plot will work as well on the TV show. That leaves the second side plot, the kidnapping of Fael by the Shido. I've always felt that if they were to do that, this would be the best time to do so. The Shido need to do something after abandoning Rand and the rest of the Aiel. It makes sense that they'd capture Fael during their wetlands rampage. Doing that earlier in the Perrin-Fael relationship also creates more tension. In the books, I never believed Fael would do anything to threaten the relationship. So my guess is that the Shido will kidnap Fael in Season 4. Unlo, while Perrin is trapped with the White Cloaks. No matter what happens, this part will be very different from the books. The show has to fill in Perrin's 2 books gap. As for the others in Two Rivers, including Elyane and her warden Maxime, I'm fairly sure they will end up joining the rebel Aes Sedai storyline. Bane and Chiad will probably end up shadowing Fael in whatever she does. They will guide Fael in her dealings with the Shido if she's kidnapped. We'll see if my speculation is correct. This is the biggest question mark for Season 4.
You're the weakest one of them. So you can either be nameless, alone, or find new chosen. Weaker than you. Like me.
My final segment for Season 3 has to do with the Shadow, aka the evil people. There are two primary groups within the Shadow, the Forsaken and the Black Aja. In the novels, after the events of Tanchico, the Black Aja storyline sort of dissipated and went nowhere. I'm curious to see where this change with the male Adam goes. In the novels, the male Adam wasn't introduced until later on. And only one woman was needed to use it. The show changed that into 2 women. That change adds some conflict and complexity into the device. This also gives Elyane and the Black Aja something to do. Hopefully that will spice up the story. I'm also curious to see where the Forsaken go from this point. One of them, Samael, was just killed off. I'm fairly certain that the subplot of a Forsaken being forced to teach Rand Ismadian in the novels was cut out of the TV show. They briefly hinted at that for Samael, then quickly killed him off. My guess is that it'll be Loghain or Mazrim who ends up training Rand instead. One of them will take over that subplot. That means we have 6 Forsaken left, with 2 of them now dead. We have yet to see 2 of the female Forsaken, Graendal and Semerhage. I'm sure they'll appear later on and make their marks. We'll see what they do. It'll be interesting to see what the Shadow do for the rest of this series. Here are my thoughts about the entirety of Wheel of Time Season 3. But before I go too deep into that, let's talk about 2 blink or you'll miss it moments. I feel it was important to acknowledge them. The first one is this depicts the aftermath of Mat's encounter with the Ilfin when he's hung. The thing his rope is attached to is called a chandere. It's a type of spear with a knife attached at the end. It will become an essential weapon for Mat. However, its appearance was easily overlooked, so I wanted to highlight it. Be aware of it, as it's an important object. Here is the second blink or you'll miss it moment. This was right before Rand's conversation with Moiraine. If you look carefully, you can see a distant figure in the clouds. That figure has been confirmed to be Lews Therin. He was the dragon before Rand. His soul is now in Rand's body, so Rand is seeing the soul of the Kar's previous dragon. This will be another key plot in Season 4, if there is one. I wanted to point these 2 moments out. Now as for my thoughts about Season 3 itself, it was a tremendous improvement over previous seasons. Looking at Season 3 and the individual episodes, there weren't any weak episodes. They ranged from good to outstanding. I'd compare this to a typical season of Game of Thrones. And that's high praise coming from me. My major criticism for this season would be the limited number of episodes. I place that fault firmly on Amazon and their rigid 8 episodes per season rule. I wish there were 10 episodes. I felt this season was lacking connectivity. The pacing was rapid fire, and it could have used more build-up scenes. 1 or 2 more episodes could have been used to expand upon different stories. That would have helped the season flow better. That's on Amazon, not the producers. To note that many of the changes from Season 1, those that had book fans weeping and gnashing, makes sense now that we've seen Season 3. This proves that the producers always had the big picture in mind. Just like I said they did during my Season 1 recaps 4 years ago. They had a plan outlined, those reactionaries needed to take a chill pill. If only they had waited and saw. My rating for Season 3 as a whole is a 9 out of 10. Why a 9? Because while it wasn't perfect, it was incredibly good. I was really impressed with this season. This is the Deaf Geek. I hope you've enjoyed my reviews and recaps. And for the Wheel of Time Season 3, thanks for watching.